I have had quite the day, believe you me. So, coming down to the great shop with his little, and the circlip that holds my Gear-selector on must have rusted and snapped because it fell off. Fuck, my Gear-selector is hanging off. You know, my Gear-selector was dangling by the linkage, which was fun. Moves forwards. Other than that, just bought this tank bag. Got one on my back, my bro. Seems quite a good size, so. Chinese bikes, are they worth it? Now, just today, as I'm sure I've said a couple of times now, my Gear-selector came off. That's clever, the pins come out. It being a Japanese bike, it probably wouldn't have come off, but it did. And part of that blame I hang on to the previous owner. Because I don't think the previous owner looked after the bike very well. Because it's rusty in places. And one of the downsides to Chinese bikes, and I will admit this openly, is they take more maintenance than their Japanese equivalent. But they are a lot cheaper. So all the metal is thinner. It's made out of a cheaper grade and stuff like that. So, well, not all the metal, but you know, a lot of metal. So if they can cut corners, they will, kind of thing. So if you leave it out uncovered in the rain, it's going to turn to a pile of rust pretty fucking quickly. Because even low grade stainless steel will rust, so imagine low grade steel, just like you've got to sneeze it and it rusts. Anyway, they've got their upsides and their downsides. My as I said, my Gear-selector came off, and I think that's because the split pin, I think, just probably was so rusty it just broke in half and came off. That's my diagnosis. But it's got a Japanese engine and a Japanese carb, because it's from, it's the same engine out of a 89 to 2006 CG, the overhead valve engine. Yeah, so that's one of the things. So it's got a Japanese engine. One of the other upsides to having a Chinese bike is that, believe it or not, all Chinese bikes are basically the same bike in a different shape. They all share the same parts. So if you can't find a part for your bike, 90% of the time there is a matching part for a different bike that will fit. So, for example, this is a Tsukida Patriot, or a Tsukida SK125-5. Now, recently the tachometer or rev gauge cable went and broke, and Chinese motorcycle parts online wanted a phenomenal amount for the cable for this particular bike. So I looked on eBay for just a generic Chinese tachometer cable, and I managed to get one from a Yamazaki YM125-3 for a tenner, and it fits perfectly. So instead of spending 30 quid on a cable, I spent a tenner from a cable on a different bike, and it worked fine, perfectly. Yeah, they're cheap. They're horrendously cheap. Like, you can get some of them that are like £1,400, brand spanking new, out of the showroom. So yeah, they're really cheap. This costs £700 second hand. Any other upsides? They're not quite as common as Japanese bikes, so this one gets quite a lot of looks actually. There are downsides, because you can't expect to spend a little bit of money and get a lot. One of the downsides, of course, is it doesn't feel quite as expensive. It doesn't feel quite as luxurious as a bigger bike. I mean, as a Japanese bike. They need a little bit more maintenance than a Japanese bike. And I mean, literally, they are as good as you look after them. And I mean that in literal terms. If you do not look after it, it won't be any good. If you look after it, it will last you forever. If you leave it out in the rain, it'll rust. Keep it dry, it won't. They are as good as you look after them. But the thing is that it gets me through, you know. It's my first part of an exhaust. Anyway, it gets me through, you know. It's my first big bike. Not the birthday bike, so my first 125. I've had it for 6-7 months now, and it's done me great guns. I'll quite happily set it at 9-10,000 revs on the A road for 18 miles straight, and I'm worse off afterwards than it is, basically. It doesn't seem to care whilst I get a bit cold and lonely and sad. No, not really. A bit cold though, that's it really. Just to note the modifications I have done. I have changed the handlebars to a pair of rentals, which I prefer a lot. Gives the bike a lot of a better feel, much nicer feel, because the other ones arch back towards me more. These ones are straighter and they're a little bit lower, so they feel more positive, and they're wider as well. Other than that, I've changed the front sprocket size. I went from a 15 tooth on the front to a 17 tooth, and that's brought my fuel economy up, brought my top speed up, and it's dragged out the length of my gears, because normally stock the gears don't last very long because it's quite high geared for in-city running, so that it's really easy to ride and it doesn't mind hills and whatnot. But with the higher gearing, the gears last a lot much longer. Now in a minute. Yeah, they last a lot longer. And there's a lot more top speed and everything happens at much lower revs. Like now I'd probably be at 7,000 or 8,000 revs, but I'm quite happily chugging along at 6 at the moment. So it tames the bike a little bit more. Less acceleration, but you know, you're not getting a lot of acceleration in 125 anyway. Hate that fucking place. So loud and busy all the time. No one can walk in a straight fucking line. It's scary to think actually that all those people in there drive these cars. If they walk like they fucking ride, I mean, if they walk like they fucking drive, no wonder so many people die on the roads.